Effing videos yesterday, copywritten strike, slashed, won't even do partially blocked, just cause it's full screen. Meanwhile, I'm reacting, promoting this shit is crazy. Anyways, we go back to the top fives, cause I know it's gonna be legit with the copyright. I ain't gonna worry about none of that. 15 strange occurrences in Antarctica. Release your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with JQ Fire Squad 11. But, yeah, man, rest in peace to all the martyrs in Palestine, man. Keep the fight up. And keep your intelligence level up. Let's go. 15 strange occurrences. Sit tight, relax. Get your drink, your smoke, whatever. Man, elevate your mind. I always be thinking there's conspiracies in Antarctica. They got bases.
Actual occurrences. And today, I'm revealing
they got aliens and shit out there. It's crazy, right? Sorry about that.
Is home to numerous secrets and unusual occurrences. And today, I'm revealing 15 of the strangest happenings in Antarctica. Starting with
top fives, what it is. Let's roll.
With number 15, the Blood Falls. Antarctica's Blood Falls is one of the most intriguing and mysterious natural phenomenon on Earth. This 5-story blood-red waterfall flows slowly out of the Taylor Glacier in the McMurdo Dry Valleys. Scientists and explorers are fascinated by it. When geologists first discovered the frozen waterfall in 1911, they thought its red color came from algae, but the true nature turned out to be much more spectacular and complex. Around 2 million years ago, the Taylor Glacier sealed a small body of water beneath it, trapping an ancient community of microbes. These microbes have remained isolated under a thick layer of ice ever since, living in a natural time capsule. A fissure in the glacier allows the subglacial lake to flow out, forming the walls without contaminating the unique ecosystem within. The conditions in the trapped lake are pretty extreme. There's no light or free oxygen, and the temperatures are perpetually low. And despite these harsh conditions, microbial life thrives in what is essentially a primordial ooze. The high salinity and iron content of the water are critical to the microbe's survival.
YouTube better take off that copyright, man. I work hard on them 2 fucking reactions, man.
When the iron comes into contact with the air, it oxidizes.
Shout out everybody that showed love to the guitarist Maya video, AGT shit about to hit 2,000. Back in business.
Giving the water its blood-red appearance. The existence of its ecosystem does demonstrate that life can endure in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. This has profound implications for the study of astrobiology, suggesting that life could potentially exist in smaller extreme conditions elsewhere in the universe. However, while the discovery of the Blood Falls shows that life can survive under such conditions on Earth, it doesn't confirm that extraterrestrial life exists. Any such life would have to arise from a completely different set of circumstances. Number 14. The Promachocrinus. Imagine a creature straight out of a sci-fi horror film, a strawberry-shaped sea star with 20 waving arms lurking in the depths of the ocean. This eerie vision is not fiction, but a real discovery that brings a thrilling mystery to life. While its appearance may seem otherworldly and unsettling, the truth behind the Antarctic strawberry feather star, Promachocrinus fragarius, is not as terrifying as it seems, though it remains a strange find. The Antarctic strawberry feather star is part of a genus which now includes 8 species, with this particular one adding to the recent discoveries from the Southern Ocean. Despite covering more than 2/3 of the Earth's surface, our oceans remain largely unexplored, with only about 25% of the global seafloor mapped as of 2023. This leaves a staggering 91% of marine species yet to be discovered. This creature, found at depths ranging from 330 to 3,300 feet, challenges our understandings of marine biodiversity.
Joint looks like a wig or shredded up vegetable.
Measuring about 8 inches long, it features a unique head shape resembling a strawberry and 20 feathery, bumpy limbs. These limbs spread wide and gracefully paddle through the water, giving the creature its distinct and somewhat eerie appearance. It's named after the Latin word for strawberry, fragarium, due to the strawberry resembling nub on its body. Its arms, much longer and feathery than those of its relatives, point upwards, contrasting with the cirri that point downward. This unique morphology allows the creature to navigate the cold, dark waters of its habitat with elegance. Number 13. The Gouache Map. Imagine stumbling upon a map that challenges everything that we know about Antarctica. This is the intrigue surrounding the Gouache Map, an 18th century map that some claim accurately depicts Antarctica before it was buried by ice. This suggests that an ancient civilization mapped Antarctica in its ice-free state, with the Gouache Map serving as evidence of their advanced knowledge. Named after French geographer Philippe Gouache de la Neuville, the Gouache Map is often said to have been published in 1737, but it is dated September 3, 1739. The claim that it depicts Antarctica's subglacial topography originated from Charles Hapgood's 1966 book, Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings. Hapgood suggested that Gouache based his map on an ancient source, possibly created by a highly developed civilization or alien cartographers, showing the true ice-free coastline of Antarctica. However, this interpretation has critics. One major argument is that we still do not know for sure what the subglacial topography of Antarctica looks like. Modern technology has given us some insight, but not enough to definitively compare it with this map. Additionally, there are notable differences between the Gouache map and the Piri-Reis map, another map purported to show an ice-free tabular icebergs. So imagine an iceberg that appears to have been meticulously carved into a perfect rectangle, an almost otherworldly sight amidst the chaotic beauty of nature. This is precisely what NASA scientists spotted floating near the Larsen C ice shelf in Antarctica. This iceberg looks nothing.
Picture this.
Freaking nuts. Where does that come from? How does it get so straight? See, this is interesting.
The uneven mass that famously sank the Titanic, perhaps the most notorious iceberg in history. Yet despite its strange and almost artificial appearance, this rectangular iceberg is a natural phenomenon rooted in the fascinating process of ice formation and breakage. Alec Petty, a sea ice specialist and research scientist with NASA's Operation Icebridge, provides insight into how such an iceberg can come to be. He likens the process to a fingernail that grows and grows until it becomes weak and brittle. Similarly, as the iceberg extends out into the ocean, it loses support from the ice shelf, making it susceptible to breaking off due to tides or strong winds. But what about those remarkably straight lines and sharp angles? Could this mean it was made by aliens? Well, Petty compares the breakage to a glass plate shattering. When the stress causes the ice to crack, it often does so along straight lines. This rectangular iceberg spotted by NASA is about a mile wide, a significant but not extraordinary size compared to other icebergs from the Larsen C shelf. For instance, a much larger iceberg known as A68 calved from the same ice shelf in 2017 and covered an area of about 2,200 square miles. Number 11. Ancient Meteorites. Believe it or not, Antarctica may just be the closest thing to space on Earth. Does that make sense? Well, it will soon. Antarctica is a meteorite hotspot unlike any other on Earth. Since the discovery of the Adelaide Land meteorite in 1912, scientists have retrieved over 45,000 meteorites from the Antarctic ice, each one a precious relic from the early solar system. And with an estimated 300,000 more meteorites still waiting to be found, researchers have now a new tool to guide their search, a detailed map highlighting potential hotspots for these extraterrestrial rocks. The Antarctic landscape offers unique advantages for scientists. The stark contrast between dark meteorites and white ice, coupled with the scarcity of terrestrial rocks, makes spotting these space rocks pretty easy. The cold, dry conditions of Antarctica also help preserve meteorites, some of which have lain undisturbed for over 1 million years. However, the sheer size of Antarctica, 5.4 million square miles, poses a considerable challenge for those seeking these small, scattered relics. To improve their chances, scientists focus their efforts on meteorite stranding zones. These are areas where the local geology, ice flow, and climate conditions combine to concentrate meteorites on the surface. Traditionally, these zones were discovered by chance or through painstaking analysis of maps and satellite images, particularly those showing blue ice, which lacks snow cover and allows meteorites to remain visible. It is such a hotspot that various space programs have teamed up with both each other and experts to help map out where these meteorites may pop up. In early 2023, researchers made an exciting discovery, uncovering one of the heaviest meteorites ever found in Antarctica on the Terra Nova expedition of 1910. Despite its age, the fruitcake remains in surprisingly good condition. Specimen in Antarctica, it's fruitcake. So fruitcake is famously long-lasting, but the discovery of a 106-year-old specimen in Antarctica takes that to a whole new level. Found by Antarctica
Imagine you found a bread that's 100 years old. Jesus.
To conservators, this well-preserved cake was part of Robert Falcon Scott's Terra Nova expedition of 1910. Despite its age, the fruitcake remains in surprisingly good condition, testing the boundaries of the treat's renowned longevity. The cake, made by Huntley and Palmer's, was wrapped in paper and stored in an iron alloy tin, which deteriorated over time. However, the cake itself is remarkably intact. Lizzie Meek, program manager at the Antarctic Heritage Trust, noted that, quote, there was a very, very slight rancid butter smell to it, but other than that, the cake looked and smelled edible, end quote. She credited the extreme cold of Antarctica for the cake's preservation. Fruitcake's enduring popularity among Antarctic explorers is well documented. Its high energy contents make it an ideal food for the extreme conditions of the continent, and modern-day explorers still favor it on trips to the ice. It is known that folks working outdoors in Antarctica require about 5,000 calories a day, and even more, around 6,500 if engaged in strenuous activities like man-hauling, the practice of pulling sleds across ice and snow with one's body. Well, despite the caloric needs and high-energy foods like fruitcake, explorers often faced hunger. And number 9, the void. So there's a giant void lurking beneath the Antarctic ice, growing larger and more menacing by the day, as revealed by a new study using satellite data. This colossal cavity, about 2/3 the area of Manhattan and nearly 1,000 feet
Wow. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment and all that.
tall, is expanding under the Thwaites Glacier in West Antarctica. The void is rapidly enabling ice to melt above it, posing a significant threat to global sea level. The cavity is large enough to have once held 15 billion tons of ice, much of which have melted over the past 3 years, according to NASA. We found the void thanks to a new generation of satellites, part of NASA's Operation Icebridge, which have ice-penetrating radar. And additionally, data from the Italian and German spacecraft equipped with radar instruments reveals substantial ground shifts from 1992 to 2017. Experts.
My internet, my...
As more heat and water get under the glacier, the faster it melts. Thwaites Glacier, about the size of Florida, currently contributes roughly 4% of global sea rise. If the entire thing melted, it would raise the world ocean levels by more than 2 feet. Well, despite Thwaites Glacier being one of the most challenging places on Earth to reach, its secrets are gradually being unveiled. This summer, the U.S. National Science Foundation and the British Natural Environment Research Council are launching the International Thwaites Glacier Collaboration, a 5-year field project to investigate the glacier's processes and features in detail. Now, interestingly, the glacier is not melting uniformly. This enormous void located under the glacier's western side, further away from the western Antarctic Peninsula, is exposed to the ebb and flow of the tide, causing the ice at the grounding line to retreat and advance over a region 2 to 3 miles long. However, recent trends show more retreat than advancement, with the glacier retreating at a rate of less than a mile annually since 1992. This high retreat rate has led to an unsettling high melt rate on this part of the glacier, particularly on the western side where the void is located. Number 8. The Endurance. Sir Ernest Shackleton's lost Endurance shipwreck was discovered at the bottom of Antarctica's Weddell Sea. While this isn't an ancient discovery, its historical significance is immense. In 1914, Sir Ernest Shackleton launched the Imperial Trans-Antarctic Expedition, aiming to sail from the Weddell Sea to the South Pole and onward to the Ross Sea. Now, 107 years before becoming trapped in sea ice and sinking, the ill-fated Endurance has been identified off the coast of Antarctica. Following a polar route established by earlier Antarctic expeditions, Shackleton's team intended to march via the South Pole to the Ross Sea, crossing the entire ice-locked continent. The Endurance was found about 4 miles south of the last recorded position by the ship's captain, Frank Worsley. The Endurance 22 expedition set off from Cape Town, South Africa, in February this year, 1 month after the 100th anniversary of Sir Ernest's death. The Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust announced via the Endurance 22 website that Sir Ernest Shackleton's famous wooden ship was discovered at a depth of 9,868 feet. Marine archaeologists say that the Antarctic circumpolar current served as a barrier to the larvae that would otherwise have devoured the ship. In 1915, when Shackleton and his 28-man crew embarked on the first crossing of Antarctica, Endurance became trapped in dense pack ice. The crew had no option but to abandon the ship, and was finally crushed and sank on November 21, 1915. According to the Falklands Maritime Heritage Trust, the wreck has been protected as a historic site and monument under the Antarctic Treaty, meaning that the Endurance shipwreck can be surveyed and filmed, but cannot be touched or ice caps at all the wreck. Moving on to number 7, fossilized forests. There was a time, long, long ago, when Antarctica was a region full of lush green life. 100 million years ago, the Earth was in the grip of an extreme greenhouse effect. The polar ice caps had all but melted. In the south, rainforests inhabited by dinosaurs existed in their place. These Antarctic ecosystems were adapted to the long months of winter darkness that occurred at the poles and were truly bizarre. But if global warming continues unabated, could these ancient forests be a taste of things to come? One of the first people to uncover evidence of a once greener Antarctic was the explorer Robert Falcon Scott. Toiling back from the South Pole in 1912, he stumbled over fossil plants on the Beardmore Glacier at 82 degrees south. The extra weight of these specimens may have been a factor in his untimely demise, yet his fossil discoveries also opened up a whole new window into Antarctica's subtropical past. Professor Jane Francis of the University of Leeds is an intrepid explorer who has followed in Scott's footsteps. She has spent 10 field seasons in Antarctica collecting fossil plants and receiving the Polar Medal from the Queen in 2002. She recalled, quote, "We were high up on glaciated peaks when we found a sedimentary layer packed full of fragile leaves and twigs," end quote. Now these fossils proved to be remains of stunted bushes of beech. Only 3 to 5 million years old, they were some of the last plants to have lived on the continent before the deep freeze set in. Now possibly the weirdest and most baffling feature of the polar forests was their adaptation to the Antarctic light regime. Near the pole, night reigns all winter long, while in the summer the sun shines even at midnight. David Bierling of the University of Sheffield and author of Emerald Planet explained the challenge that Antarctic trees must have faced in this unusual environment. Quote, "During prolonged periods of warm winter darkness, trees consume their food store," he said, "and if this goes on for too long, they will eventually starve." Visiting the frozen wasteland of Antarctica today, it is hard to believe that rainforests haunted by small dinosaurs once flourished where 3-kilometer thick ice sheets now exist. However, the geological record provides irrefutable evidence that dramatic climate fluctuations have occurred throughout.
Oh.
Mad commercials. Craziness.
Throughout our planet's history. Indeed, over the past 50 years, the Antarctic Peninsula has warmed by an alarming 2.8 degrees, remnants of ancient continents lurking beneath. Number 6. Lost continents. A map reveals the remnants of ancient continents lurking beneath Antarctica's ice. The map shows that East Antarctica is made up of multiple cratons, which are the cores of continents that came before, according to study leader Jörg Ebbing, a geoscientist at Kiel University in Germany. The findings help reveal fundamental facts about the Earth's tectonics and how Antarctica's lands and ice sheets interact. Because the continent is so remote and buried in ice, Antarctica is a bit of a blank spot on the geological map, Ebbing said. Researchers use data from the European Space Agency's Gravity Field and Steady-State Ocean Circulation Explorer satellite to fill in the blanks. The satellite orbited Earth from 2009 to 2013, gathering data on the planet's gravity field. Gravity's pull does differ very slightly from one point on Earth to another, depending on changes in topography and the density of the planet's interior. By measuring these changes, this satellite provided the data to make a full gravity map of the planet. Ebbing and his team used other satellite data to virtually strip the ice from Antarctica to focus on the bedrock beneath. When they looked at this layer, they found evidence of the continent's history as part of Gondwana, a supercontinent made of the modern southern hemisphere continents, which broke up about 180 million years ago. East Antarctica's crust is thicker than West Antarctica's. It's between 25 miles and 37 miles thick, compared with the West's 12 miles and 22 miles thick. The East Antarctic crust is also a mishmash of older cratons, Ebbing said, including the Mawson Craton, which has a matching fragment in southern Australia. Now, this new data revealed more complexity in the East Ancient Cratons than previously known. The existence of this low-density portion of the upper mantle, the layer of the planet beneath the crust, may be due to an ancient mantle plume. Now, mantle plumes are places in the mantle where hot blobs of rock rise like lumps in a lava lamp. They can sometimes lead to the formation of volcanoes. The Antarctic mantle plume would date back to sometime in the last 66 million years, according to the researchers. Number 5. The Piri-Reis Map. The Piri-Reis Map is a strange little artifact drawn on gazelle skin parchment and measuring roughly 35 by 24 inches. Of Hapgood's theory argue the land masses on the map might not be Antarctica at all. Some cartographers suggest that it could be an exaggerated representation of the South American coastline. World where everything is white with blinding snow and ice. The McMurdo, the farthest reaches of the world where everything is white with blinding snow and ice. The McMurdo dry valleys of Antarctica stand as a striking anomaly. Ice and snow-free due to unique conditions, these valleys have intrigued researchers as the closest landscape on Earth to Mars. With 98% of its surface covered in a mile-deep sheet of ice, this place epitomizes an unforgiving environment. Life itself is a rare occurrence in this severe climate, considered the driest, coldest, and windiest desert on the planet. Yet life has been found in this most unlikely of places. Despite having no permanent human population and only a smattering of wildlife, Antarctica is not a hopelessly barren wasteland. Each year, between 1,000 to 5,000 people, mostly researchers and scientists, brave this hostile environment, inhabiting the unique town, quote-unquote, of McMurdo Station. From this central hub, researchers have made groundbreaking discoveries, from water samples of blood falls revealing microbes with metabolic processes never before witnessed, to bacteria hiding from the dry winds in the interior of rocks. While life indeed thrives, the lack of snow here is not a sign of softness, but the result of 200-mile-per-hour katabatic winds. These winds, sucked down into the valleys by gravity, heat up as they pound towards the ground, evaporating any moisture in their wake. Per-hour katabatic winds. These winds, sucked down into the valleys by gravity, heat up as they pound towards the ground, evaporating any moisture in their wake. This valley does defy the typical image of Antarctica's snow-covered landscape. It represents a paradox in one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Researchers continue to study this unique region to understand better how life can survive in such harsh conditions, and what this might mean for the potential of life on other planets. Number 3. Mount Erebus. Erebus is an apt name for the volcano. In Greek mythology, Erebus was the son of the gods Chaos and Gaia, or Earth. Erebus was made of darkness and shadow, filling the corners of the worlds with his darkness. Currently the most active volcano in Antarctica, and the southernmost active volcano on Earth, Mount Erebus features a lava lake, a swirling pool of magma that may be many miles deep. It is one of only 5 such lava lakes that exist in the world. While inside Mount Erebus is extremely hot, the outside is frigid with Antarctic temperatures. The snow-covered volcano is riddled with ice caves carved out by escaping volcanic gases. These gases keep the ice caves at a consistent 32 degrees Fahrenheit, making them a likely spot for undiscovered extremophiles. The volcanic gases heat their way through these ice caves and escape into the air to form enormous 60-foot chimneys of ice, or fumaroles, with deadly volcanic gases pouring out from their tips. Discovered in 1841 by polar explorer Sir James Clark Ross, Mount Erebus was easy to identify as a volcano because it was erupting at the time. Later, polar explorer Ernest Shackleton made the first ascent of Mount Erebus between 1907 and 1909 during the Nimrod expedition. One of the things that makes Erebus significant, and the reason it's the location of the Mount Erebus Volcano Observatory, or MEVO, is that Erebus is one of only a few consistently active volcanoes in the world. Rather than lying dormant and then spectacularly erupting once every few hundred years, Mount Erebus is always active, bubbling, releasing gas, and flinging 10-feet-wide volcanic bombs, hunks of molten rock that sometimes explode on landing, through the air. For a volcanologist, Mount Erebus is a dangerous but dreamy research site. This massive stratovolcano also spews out an average of 80 grams of...
If you're not making $158,000
of it dissolved in the volcanic gases. This phenomenon adds to the unique character of Mount Erebus, illustrating the complex and awe-inspiring process of Polar Stern, watching live images and marine biologist Lillian Bohr fish. Oftentimes, the most astounding scientific discoveries are made entirely by accident. It was 3 in the morning, February 2021, and marine biologist Lillian Boehringer of the Alfred Wegener Institute in Germany was keeping vigil in the camera room on board the research vessel Polar Stern, watching live images of the Antarctic seafloor roll by every 20 seconds. More than 1,000 feet beneath the ice floes, Boehringer saw something unusual: teeming ice fish nests ringed with stones. The structures continued non-stop for 4 hours as the camera drifted along. Ice fish inhabit the deep waters of the Southern Ocean, also known as the Antarctic Ocean. And since it encircles that particular continent, there are relatively few fish species living there, and even fewer predators. Because of this, ice fish face little or no competition for the krill, small fish, and crabs they feed upon. They're also ambush predators, which means that the movement consists of short and infrequent bursts of speed. Without much in the way of extended physical activity, their bodies require less oxygen. Known to 19th century whalers long before researchers snagged one in 1928, ice fish are the only known vertebrates that lack hemoglobin as adults. Because of this, their blood is nearly clear. Ice fish blood not only lacks hemoglobin, but it also contains a unique array
Their blood is clear. That's insane.
of antifreeze proteins that allow the fish to survive in low temperatures. Similar to antifreeze in a car radiator, these substances function by chemically lowering the temperature at which the freezing happens. In the ice fish, this antifreeze protein restricts the growth of ice crystals in tissue, including blood, and in hollow structures like the heart and blood vessels. This opens exciting avenues for medical researchers who are experimenting with using antifreeze proteins to prevent damage to tissues and organs stored on ice before their use in transplant and related procedures. According to researcher Kristen O'Brien, what it did do is force an extensive remodeling of the ice fish cardiovascular system. This evolutionary tweak resulted in the fish having 4 times the blood volume and 3 times the blood vessel diameter of a similarly sized red-blooded fish. This means that although ice fish blood pressure and heart rates are low, the volume of blood that leaves the heart with each contraction is high. Additionally, once the blood reaches muscles and organs, extremely dense capillary beds help improve the efficiency of gas exchange. And finally, in one innovative evolutionary twist, ice fish have no scales covering their bodies, so oxygen uptake happens not just through the gills, but also directly through their skin. Number 1. The Doomsday Glacier.
Number 1, the Doomsday Glacier. We made it here. Thank you for spending your time. Hope you enjoyed it. Let's go. We out.
Scientists have looked back in time to reconstruct the past life of Antarctica's Doomsday Glacier, so named because its collapse could cause catastrophic sea level rise. Researchers have discovered that the Thwaites Glacier started retreating rapidly in the 1940s, according to a new study that provides alarming insights into future melting. The Thwaites Glacier in western Antarctica is the world's widest and roughly the size of Florida. Scientists knew it had been losing ice at an accelerated rate in the 1970s, but because satellite data only goes back a few decades, they didn't know exactly when significant melting began. By analyzing marine sediment cores extracted from beneath the ocean floor, researchers found that the glacier began to significantly retreat in the 1940s, likely kicked off by a very strong El Niño event, a natural climatic fluctuation that tends to have a warming impact. Since then, the glacier has been unable to recover. What happens to Thwaites will have global reverberations. The glacier already contributes 4% of sea level rise as it sheds billions of tons of ice a year into the ocean. Its complete collapse could raise sea levels by more than 2 feet. Moreover, Thwaites plays a vital role in the stability of the West Antarctic ice sheet, acting like a cork holding back the vast stretch of ice behind it. Thwaites' collapse would undermine the stability of the entire sheet, which holds enough water to raise sea levels by at least 10 feet, causing a catastrophic global flood.
Right.
The study's findings match previous research on the neighboring Pine Island Glacier,
It's like
one of the
butterfly causing a tornado type of shit.
largest ice streams in Antarctica, which scientists also found started rapidly retreating in the 1940s. To build a picture of Thwaites' life over the past nearly 12,000 years, the scientists took an icebreaker vessel up close to the edge of the glacier to collect ocean sediment cores from a range of depths. These cores provide a historical timeline, with each layer yielding information about the ocean and going back thousands of years. By scanning and dating the sediments, the scientists were able to pinpoint when the substantial melting began. The findings are alarming because they suggest that once big changes are triggered, it's very hard to stop them. Once the ice sheet begins to retreat, there's no telling when it will stop. It cannot go on for just weeks or months, but for decades. Simply put, it stops when it stops. While similar retreats have happened much further back in the past, the ice sheet recovered and regrew. However, these glaciers show no signs of recovery. Ted Scambos, a glaciologist at the University of Colorado Boulder, said that the study confirms and adds details to our understanding of how Thwaites' retreat began. A system that was already close to being unstable took a big shot from a mostly natural event, and further events arising more from the warming climate trend started the widespread retreat and what we're seeing today. Stay warm out there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next.
Deuces, we out. Peace. Thank you for spending time with JQ. Hope them 2 videos go up.